So our first category of pollutants are going to be our particulates type of pollution. This is probably the easiest to identify. That's because it's just identify. Because these are actually just small particles floating in the air. If you get lots and lots of small particles, then you're getting air pollution because there's only so many particles you're supposed to have in your air. And if you get even more particles, then you have air pollution. So this is sort of a primary pollutant because you can say, oh, look, this is ash from that volcanic eruption. So then we can say it was that volcano that polluted the atmosphere for us. So we can get volcanic ash. We can get smoke. Lead. Many people don't realize that lead is a huge problem because we've known long enough now that lead is a huge problem that we are sort of remediating it. But I know at least a few years ago there was a scare from toys imported from China that used lead-based paint. And that's because lead can actually lead to developmental issues. So it can actually lead to slow mental acuity or mental retardation. So your brain does not develop as well as it should because you get lead poisoning from the atmosphere. So that's why you'll see that we now have unleaded gas. If you've ever wondered why it says unleaded gas, because in the past it used to have lead in it. And then when you were when you would inhale the vapors while you're filling up your car, you were inhaling lead. So now that's why we have unleaded gas, and that's why we have unleaded paint. Because the fumes in the paint would cause issues, and then children put everything in their mouths, so if you have paint flecks, they're probably putting those paint flecks in their mouths and taking it in that way. So the easiest to identify is particulate pollutants because we can identify where they're coming from. And this can be anthropogenic, but it can also be natural air pollution as well. So just to show you guys how critical air pollution is to the entire world, you can't say, well, air pollution is China's problem. This graph here, these images here are showing you how the ash or the particulates from the, I think it's, Mount Pinatubo volcanic eruption sort of spread across the planet. So this is actually natural particulate pollution. And it's showing us the Mount Pinatubo eruption, which happened in 1991. And you can see within days to months, within a month of the eruption, we had a global band of ash. So while Mount Pinatubo only erupted in one place, it actually created a global issue because the eruption happened right around in here in the Philippines. And so within a month, the pollution had spread all the way across the planet. So you get a global band of ash within 1 month of eruption. But you can see the the areas where humans have high concentration of humans, up here in Europe and Americas, which you can't see because I'm using my green pen here, and Asia, we don't really have excess pollution happening. So that was fine. It can erupt in the equatorial region. We're not going to get affected immediately. But if you give it 2 years, you have a global distribution of ash from Mount Pinatubo. So no one could escape the particulates or the ash from Mount Pinatubo. It reached everywhere on the planet. We don't really know what happened up here because we weren't collecting data, but we can tell that certain particles or certain ash particles you can identify to Mount Pinatubo. So the fact is we found Mount Pinatubo ash particles up here, which indicates that it had reached across the entire planet. So this is why air pollution, this is an example of why air pollution is a global issue and not just a local issue, because it may start off in one spot, but it can affect the entire globe. If you guys have ever heard of the Little Ice Age, where crops didn't grow in the summer and it snowed well into July, that was because of a volcanic eruption. So air pollution can have a global adverse effect on everything.